Welcome to everyone to episode 127 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Penteloresco. I write stuff and podcasts too. And today's guest is probably one of my favorite conversations this year so far, Nola Sarina. Nola is an erotica writer, but truthfully, she's hilarious. Actually, I'm being a little bit disingenuous. She does write erotica. It's dark fantasy. She does a lot of other things too, some of which I cannot talk about here. But she's definitely a champion of writing. She's a parent, and she has the most hilarious Facebook I think I read on a regular basis. She's a lot of fun, and this conversation was a lot of fun as we tried to find her supervillain name. But you'll see at the end of the conversation what it is, or will you? Anyway, what to talk about today? Well, I had an interesting roadblock today in one of my other quests. I'm going to make some announcements, probably not this podcast, probably at the end of the When Words Collide podcast. But for now, I'm excited. I got my copies of The Wandering God in today, and I look at it. It's a beautiful book, start to finish. It'll be available October 17th. Pre-order it now. That'd be great. Give me a kind word. Say, hey, how are you? If you hate the book, don't tell nobody, okay? Just do me that favor. It'll be good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the book come out. I'm definitely going to see more from me. Like I said, I've already done some press for it. That'll be rolling out in the next couple weeks. All in all, this is definitely, I'm really happy to see the book done. I'm really, really happy with that. All right, let's talk to Miss Nola Sarina after this. Coming October 17th as a paperback and available for pre-order where all electronic books are sold, that is Amazon, Kobo, etc., comes the final book in the Watcher saga, which began with The Watcher and Stormdancer. The Wandering God, once again with illustrations by Florence Chan, is about the Watcher who receives a voice and vision of a city at the end of the world asking for help. And there his friends and himself go journey, overcoming their own doubts and trying to solve the mystery of the Wandering God. Can it get to him before the dragons get there first? Find out October 17th. I'm turning the recorder on, so anything incriminating you want to say, to make it a good crime.
I killed Mufasa.
Nice. You'd be the second supervillain I interviewed this weekend.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
Ray Flowing.
Oh, okay.
She's now known as Sarcastica.
Okay.
That was the name. That was the name we came up with here at this conversation. It was a good name. It fit her perfectly to a T.
I wonder what my superhero name would be. I've never thought about it.
Super villain name.
Super villain name. Let's go with the villain name.
Yeah.
I would be. Can't think of something to say it.
Can't think of something to say it.
I would be.
See, I somehow feel you're like one of those mischievous villains. They're not necessarily I don't think world domination is quite your goal. I think you're more of the kind of person that would just cause trouble for the sake of causing trouble.
Or perhaps I don't want you to know that world domination is my goal.
That might be true, but I somehow feel you're more like causing chaos.
I could, but perhaps I cause chaos to unite the people under
your rule,
my tyrannical reign.
Oh, so you cause the problem, then you solve the problem.
I'm actually a really bad tyrant though.
Yeah.
Because I'm super empathetic and I super feel for people. So if I was a tyrant, somebody would be like, "Oh, please don't kill me," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry."
I could see that now, but I could see someone just making off with their head, Queen of Hearts.
Off with their heads.
Exactly. Totally.
Yes. Maximum effort.
Maximum effort. That's a lot of crimes we've acknowledged here in just literally a minute.
I know, I'm super incriminated here.
I know. How you doing?
Doing good.
Yes.
Yeah, enjoying the conference so far.
Yeah, me too. My first time doing a presentation.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was my first time ever. So
You're such a natural public speaker.
It was first couple years. Couple years, it was just getting my feet wet, and also, like I said, it's interesting. My niche came, the podcast thing, came from When Words Collide.
Really? Okay.
So what happened there was I interviewed Rob Sawyer. I'm I got this phone. I used to do handwritten interviews. So I would interview somebody. I'd write down the interview. I'd send it to them. It's did I say anything wrong? Did I forget something or I screw up? And they would be like, Sometimes, yes, you screwed this up, but here's how you fix it. And I'm like, yes. So I have a phone. I'm like, yes, I can actually record it. I don't have to do that. I can just transcribe.
Right.
Right. That was as far as my brain went on that. And then I interviewed Rob. Rob was actually my first interview.
Okay.
But the condition was I would hold off the interview until his book was close to publication, which was a totally reasonable request. And then even just after I turned to record off, goes, he mentioned podcasts, and just it's like I wasn't thinking about a podcast. Can I do a podcast? And this literally was in my head the whole weekend. It's like, why not? I'll figure out what could possibly go wrong.
Right.
And that's so I said,
created a monster.
Yeah, it did. 114 episodes later, I have a monster on
Well, I think you're a natural public speaker, and I think that's really important when you're giving presentations, is to be able to just casually chat with strangers, and that's something that some people learn over time, and it's something that some people just have naturally. For me, it's been a learning process over time. To present and to speak in front of groups, because my first few times being on panels, I mean, my heart was racing out my throat, and I was completely nervous and like, oh, please don't let me pee.
That's awesome. For me, it was like, oh, please don't make me sound dumb. Oh, please don't make because you're like, the first time you're up on a panel, you're like, what am I doing here? Like Mark Leslie was beside me for my first panel too.
Oh, not intimidating at all. That's fine.
Yeah, not even no. But actually, he was a lot of fun because it was funny because literally to review the Goodreads panel,
Okay.
I actually did Goodreads the night before. I was just reviewing. I got myself another review for the Watcher book. Just I was like, okay, I remember what I'm doing. And then him and everybody else on there just points out stuff I haven't even looked at yet. So my first novel is called The Cloud Diver. I'm gonna do so. My contest there will be on Goodreads. Is Wile E. Coyote a zombie?
Aha, very nice.
She actually there's a glint in her eye on that one. So there's an argument both ways. So the argument against it is he does not reproduce.
Okay, all right.
But the argument for it is
that would make him a non-infectious
zombie. Yeah, but
okay.
I had an interesting conversation with
a Lone Ranger zombie.
Yeah, very much so. Because I have a zombie mobster in The Cloud Diver.
Okay.
All right, and his name is Chester. His name after my sister's lizard.
Chester the zombie.
Chester's he only says one word: brains, and a variety of different things. Almost like it's my homage to Dude or I Am Groot, depending.
And like, does he use brains as a question too? Can
yes.
he say brains, or can he like clear his throat and prepare a very articulate speech of brains?
I haven't gotten to his body language just yet because for him, so his head. I modeled the villain after Adam Dries.
Okay.
Because Adam Dries is.
He's such a good villain.
No. Well, he doesn't play Steve. So I saw him dressed up in his folk guy. I was like, he'd make a good evil wizard. And then I saw Mr. Pickles on his Twitter, and I'm like, okay, no, you are a villain. There's just no way around that. Right, you are a villain.
Right.
So I looked at him like, so what? So if Adam was a villain, what would he be like? He still would be very charismatic. He would be very, 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 driven, focused, like what he is now, except as a mob enforcer. It'd be like his tail switch would happen in very implied or else.
Yeah. And I think that he would be the kind of supervillain that would make you feel very comfortable and very safe until the end of the conversation when he reminds you that you're going to die if you repeat anything you just heard. Something a little subtle snuck in, but we're still friends.
Actually, the introduction I have is he was have a conversation with his daughter, and this is actually oddly led to something important, and it's like, you can have anything you want, sweetheart. And then the response was, a pony? You want a pony? Daddy's got to work a lot more if he does that. Right? But it leads to a very funny spot because my sister made a request for this, and I'll let you connect the dots.
Okay.
She requested a unicorn that farts rainbows in the story. In the context of the story, it actually works.
Okay.
Right? And because the story is, The Cloud Diver is The Matrix meets Indiana Jones. Right? And the idea is Cloud today is going to be our history tomorrow, but it's unique because unlike any other period in history, we are really recorded from beginning to end. Whereas unlike, say, Tutankhamun, we don't know what kind of dick he was when he was 18 years old.
No, exactly.
But today, right, our history is going to be more archaeological, especially with the way resources are going to be reused and recycled. Historical, I feel our history is going to literally be inside a world unto itself that only certain people can access. So my main character is a coward that follows a girl with a gunblade into the cloud, steals a file gets a file he shouldn't have.
Okay.
All right, so the unicorn comes in. It's unicorns from that world because we have spam bots and other bots that are just going to constantly replicate themselves.
Right.
So I have a unicorn that farts rainbows. So he literally talks out of his ass in a wingding format. And so Chase, again, everybody's after that file. So it was a very fun.
Can I interrupt to ask a question?
Sure.
What does a rainbow unicorn fart smell like?
Pine.
Like pine.
Like pine.
Like pine. Okay, see, I wasn't thinking that.
No. So that was my thought. No,
I was thinking it would smell like cherry blossoms, you know? Or it could be deceptive. And it could smell like that death flower, you know, that corpse flower, that giant flower that smells like dead bodies.
That's book 3.
Okay, all right. I'm getting ahead of you. I'm sorry.
I had the idea that we talked about the idea of with the unicorn, but robots are murderers. But the thing is, she wants a pony. I'll let you do the math on that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
That's funny. So what's the argument for Wile E. Coyote being a zombie?
He never dies.
Yeah.
He's driven by hunger. And while he's not necessarily dumb, he does make the same mistake all the time of brand loyalty. I think personally Acme should be sued. I think Coyote could have a legitimate...
You know what? I'm thinking that by now, with how many injuries he's had as a result of improper package warnings, I mean, this isn't like a cup of coffee at McDonald's that says that it's hot. We're talking about dynamite here. I mean, that should probably have a warning on it. Or maybe they should have checked his ID to make sure he was of the age, because I don't know how old the Wile E. Coyote
that is actually an interesting point. I never considered.
Maybe he's 12 and thinks these are firecrackers, and they just go off wrong and kill him over and over.
Well, they don't kill him. That's the thing. That's actually the scary part. So I mean,
maybe he dies inside.
Every time. That'd be painful.
That would be painful.
Yeah. Insurance companies have to have a nightmare with that guy.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, it's like...
I would imagine so.
It's like, how do we insure that?
Well, and you got to think it's a good thing that he is often in the desert with the Roadrunner, because think how many things he would light on fire. If there was trees, he would be responsible for forest fires and for grass fires.
And he'd walk away from all of it.
And traumatizing children walking by watching somebody blow up right in front of them. I mean, that wouldn't be a good thing at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. We're having a very serious conversation here.
We are having a very serious conversation.
But no,
that's supposed to be a seriouser conversation, because I'm not great at that.
I'm not, nor am I actually.
Okay, cool. Then I'm good.
Listen, my presentation on podcasting, I make people read Fox and Socks.
Okay, that's super fun.
Yeah.
I love Fox and Socks. I read it with my kids.
Yeah.
Quite often. So I try to read it as fast as I can.
I also did a Fox and Socks off with Vanessa Cardaway at the open mic.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And so did she win or did you win?
She won. We're going to have a rematch next year. I can't remember the title. It's Say It or Not. I can't remember the exact title. It's another tongue twister. It's a harder one.
You know what you could do? You could almost do a large group Fox and Socks off.
Yes.
Where you have somebody with a buzzer being the judge, and whenever somebody has stumbled 3 times, they buzz them and they're out. And see who can make it through the book without stumbling.
That'd be cool. The only problem with that is if I only have an hour. If there's anything else that has to go in that hour, that would be really tough. But
I'm saying it's like a Fox and Socks hour.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And we actually have this idea of doing a Cat in a Hat trophy next year. Because if you're gonna do it, you might as well.
You might as well.
Yeah. Goes together. Yeah.
Just Dr. Seuss it up.
Yeah, that's right. I also I do a live podcast here next year, because I did my first live podcast not too long ago, actually.
Okay, and who did you do your live podcast with?
Cardo is a musical act.
Okay.
Axel Howerton, Robert Folks.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so is that high pressure? Do you feel pressure?
I felt pressure. I felt okay. So. The reason why I'm very comfortable in the public speaking kind of role is anything embarrassing that you can imagine has happened to me. Seventh grade, I had to do a class presentation, and on the way up, this is during puberty.
Yeah.
Things came to attention. I'm wearing very short shorts.
I'm so glad to have the anatomy that I have.
Yes. I, however, was very visible, and I didn't live that down for years. But here's the thing: you go through that. It's one of those things. You face your what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? So it's happened. So whether
nothing that bad can happen to you. Well, I was in choir when I was growing up, and our conductor was Dr. Eric Chris Johnson. He's a wonderful teacher, composer, everything. And he always said, make your mistakes loudly, because you'll only make them once. And I really like that advice, because if you're going to screw something up,
go big.
Screw it up enough that you learn from it.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to make that mistake, because even if it is embarrassing in that moment, as you've mentioned, you learn from it and you grow from it, and your confidence changes the more mistakes that you are able and willing to make and recover from.
Well, the other thing too is it takes the hammer away, and that's the thing. A lot of people are afraid of making that mistake and screwing up, and I look at it kind of more like, So what if you screw up?
Yeah.
So what? I mean, you had nothing when you started, and truly the absolute worst thing you get when you screw up is nothing.
Yeah.
And that's, if you really sit there and think about it, that's pretty much the same spot. The only difference is you went through an experience, and that experience shapes you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that being an honest person is important in many settings, in all settings, but especially things like social media. You know, I see a lot of people really tailoring their social media exposure in terms of their personal Facebook profiles. You know, they only show the best part of their house and things like that. And I do understand that. I understand why people do it, but I guarantee you, if you have dishes sitting on your counter in that picture, I'm not going to judge that because I have dishes sitting on the counter in my picture. If you have a pimple that you can't Photoshop out in your picture, I guarantee you I have one on my face right now. So I like the human element of that.
I also see it. This is an interesting thing because I was apprenticed by James A. Owen once upon a time. Now, if you've ever met James, he is huge on presentation. He might be.
Met him.
He is. So when you meet him, if you do meet him, swell guy, very charming dude. He is very, very big on presentation. He might act okay. Adam is a better presenter than he is, but not by much. Okay. It's really, really close. And James is just super prepared and stuff. And I got to work with him in the studio. I got to actually now. Presentation's my weakest. I think I would probably be my weakest element. And I'm just being an honest criticism of myself. I'm working on it, but it's my weakness. I realize I understand the value of presentation. Presentation does, especially we are in a sales business, and presentation's a part of it. It's inescapable. But I also find this: if you don't have any substance to your presentation, then you've wasted my time.
Yeah.
And I hate that. Like, I truly despise when my time's wasted with people. And I find what happens with a lot of people, even on social media, it's the presentation. If that's all you got, and that's what happens with a lot of people when they get so caught up in it. That's all they do. Yeah, it gets you attention, sure. I can't acknowledge it, but if you got nothing to back that up at the end of the day.
Well, and your presentation also needs to be relatable, to your audience. And I find personally that I can connect with an audience really well as soon as the humor comes out. Yeah. And very often the humor is me laughing at myself. You know, if I've tripped on my shoe or whatever walking into the room, or lost my pen, or I have coffee spilled up, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that human element I think is really important as far as connecting with your audience. Presentation absolutely is important, and there are certain situations I would absolutely not go into wearing that coffee stained shirt. But if it's also a point of relation with my audience, then I don't mind bringing that up and admitting my flaws. And I think that in admitting my flaws, it makes it easier for the person with me to reveal theirs and thus create a connection.
On a personal, you're like my favorite Facebook page.
Oh, thank you.
No.
My profile picture, I'm like eating a small puppy.
Yeah. No, again, supervillian. Supervillian.
Puppy devourer. No, that's not it.
No.
Still not yet.
No. We'll get there. Should maybe if you want to be in honor of Cruella de Vil, you can do something in honor of her, like Cruella, or like Cruel, or something.
Here's the thing: is that the puppy I'm pretending, and I swear I'm pretending.
That's right.
Adorable fuzzy puppy. It's my best friend's puppy. I'm pretending to eat this puppy. It's a miniature Dachshund, so it is a wiener dog, and I really think we maybe shouldn't go with a supervillain name that has anything to do with devouring wiener. It really deflates my credibility and seriousness as a supervillain.
Yeah, unless you're doing a porn movie, and that's not exactly.
I'm really not. I mean, I write erotica, but I'm not.
Yeah,
maybe not about like just eating wiener.
I understand. You need something with a little bit more oomph to it.
Yeah, a little more oomph than eating wiener.
Yeah. I gotcha.
So no puppy devouring.
I love where this conversation is going.
It'll come to us. It will.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out in the time we have. But that all said, no, I love your Facebook page because it's honestly the most human thing. I like to say other than mine, but I mean it's the most human thing. Is that you're having fun, and I can tell that, and I dig that. That's why I dig about that.
Thank you very much. I'm a dorky person. I'm extremely easily excited by small things. You know, you see my gardening posts where I'm like freaking out excited that I grew a tomato, you know, and I'm really excited about this. And that's just honestly who I am and how excited I am. And I like to share that with people because when I see your page and something you're excited about, I love that.
Yeah.
And you're an enthusiastic person, and that makes your personality very infectious. You're easy to talk to. Right. And when you can accomplish that on social media too, a relatability that people are really willing to connect with and eager to connect with.
I had a
success.
I had a high school buddy go to me, I love your like social media is generally depressing, but I like yours because I again, the only thing I consciously do on my social media is I keep it deliberately politically atheistic.
Okay.
Because I it's not that I don't have a political opinion. It's just I really don't care. I see so much of that on social media that I'm like, left. I don't care. Do you like ice cream? Yeah, I mean that's.
Ice cream is my jam.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, do you like ice cream? I do. I used to joke about ice cream and Bailey's a lot more than I do.
Okay.
That right? Because I do like that. It is an amazing combination.
It is an amazing combination.
Yes.
It's like a super dairy combination.
Yes, and it's really it puts you in a really happy place. You got that right combination of bliss and buzz. Right. So I figure that's a more important thing to talk about, whether or not the United States is going to implode. I maybe my priorities are wrong.
Well, I think that you have to decide what's right for you, and I think you have to decide what platforms you want to stand on, what platforms you're comfortable standing on and defending, because social media can also be a very hostile environment. And when your goal with social media is to have enthusiastic and cheerful interactions with people, then maybe that isn't a platform that you want to jump up and stand on. You know, that said, there may come a time when you find a cause that you are so passionate about that you can't help yourself. You've got to get up.
Oh no, and you know what? And when that cause comes up, I will happily do it. I just find like the biggest again. I'm very open about I talk about my faith off and on there, but more often than not, I'm just talking about like me. I'm just trying to have fun. I try to inspire people to say the right things because I want people to succeed, and I don't care who you are. Where we all have dreams, we all have, and as far as I know, we only have one life.
Yeah.
So I would rather everybody succeed.
Perhaps you only have one.
That's
life,
right.
But the wiener devourer will live forever. It's still not working.
No, no. And the idea of wiener devouring having like 9 lives, because somehow I feel that's a cat thing.
I also am thinking I don't want to spend 9 lives
doing the wiener devourer. No.
And actually not even one.
No, or not even a quarter, not even like a third, an eighth. Not
really. I mean,
no.
Nah.
Well, we'll figure it out.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
I've got a supervillain name
somewhere deep inside you, so
it will emerge.
It will emerge
in its own time.
So I'm gonna ask a writing question here. Because I honestly think
this is a writing convention.
I should talk about that. Maybe I don't know. I've done a whole podcast where I mention the books only at the end. It really depends. Because so the thing about this. Now this is marketing for me. This is how I think about marketing. In one sense, your books don't matter because don't get me wrong, they are what people keep coming back. But so the 3 I mentioned this off air: who you are, what you offer, why should people care? When you're marketing yourself, the why should people care part is actually less important than who you are and what you offer, and they're intertwined. My belief is they're intertwined. So.
Well, I also think that who you are is very connected to why should people care. Absolutely,
I do agree with that too. But the point I was getting on that is, if I'm talking to you on a podcast like this, I want people to get a sense of who you are as a person, because that, going back to the social media concept.
Oh really, boy, this is not going to sell me books, is it?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. My podcast is growing pretty good actually, which is interesting. But the idea is introducing you as a person, because you as a person, people can gravitate towards that, and I find that when people
deliberately away from it.
But that's okay.
It is.
Because it truly is, because honestly, you're not going to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, don't get me wrong. We all want to be J.K. Rowling. We all want to be Stephen King. We all want to roll in that much piles of money. But the truth of the matter is, most of us have to. If we do get to that point, we get there a step at a time. So we start off finding our niche. Like for me, I figured out. Like it took me a while to figure out what exactly I do in the writing end of things. And for me, I do stuff that's outside the normal comfort zone for most people, but it's different. And because it's so different, the people that come to me are people that want something that's different. They want to change. They want some kind of, maybe renewal is a strong word, but someone with a very different vision. And that's what I bring to the table. And I know who I am as a creative person that way. So who you are, I think, also is like what you stand for in writing, what you stand for in as a person will relate people to what you offer, because it shows what you offer, and then ultimately why people care. Because if you're this, and I like this, and I like what you're offering because of who you are, then I'm going to care about your product, whatever that is.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
Yes. So you said you had a writing question.
The writing question for you is, I'm curious if you're ever going to do young adult. Because the reason is because I see your reactions with your kids, and I somehow can just so
which reactions? Was I mad? Was I happy?
okay. So one social media like you're talking about, it's like, I'm loving what my kids is doing. Hey, put that down. I'm like,
please stop.
Yeah, no, I saw that, and I was like, my God, there is a young adult author deep inside you, and maybe probably not that deep inside you, to be perfectly honest.
Not as deep as my supervillian name.
Yeah, you're
still yet to be revealed.
Yes.
Yes, I have done some young adult writing. I have not published anything in young adult. When I do, I will likely do it under a different pen name than Nola Sarina, because when we're coming from a marketing standpoint, Nola Sarina obviously writes very dark fantasy as well as erotica, and that isn't something I want to cross with a young adult audience, because that is a little inappropriate. So, I do some young adult writing. And I love it. I love the pace of young adult stories, because when you think about being a young adult and being a teenager, everything is a whirlwind of your dreams and your hopes and what can I accomplish, or at least it was for me. Yeah. And I'm a little ADHD, so maybe that was a stronger component of my upbringing, but I really like writing fast-paced characters and fast-paced stories. And I think that having kids who are coming into their teen years have a good grasp of what they're interested in. So I do some young adult writing. Nothing published yet. But
no. But I can legit see it with you. I legit see it with you, because I again, just reading Marian's like, he's gonna have first off, the villain in there. I don't know what her name. I don't know the name. The name might be a little difficult to come up with you. Yeah, but I just like. She's gonna have a lot of fun writing the mentor stuff, because I could just see the mentor. Yeah. I could just see that, and I was like, oh my God, that's gonna be the funniest stuff ever. And then, but I also there's again, very quietly, there is a lot of depth with you, and I think that when you do step into the young adult platform, and again, maybe I'm disrespecting the erotica stuff.
No. You can't disrespect erotica unless you say I don't like sex. So that's like a disrespect to erotica, but otherwise it's fine. And I do think that raising children has given me a better grasp of things with the young adult world, but also reading young adult, because I'm a young adult reader as well, has given me a grasp of parenting. Because when I look at my childhood and my young teenage years, and I think, I hope my kids don't get into this kind of trouble that I got into. But then when I read a young adult book and I see the kind of trouble that those kids are getting into, it has shown me that, all teenagers do stupid shit.
Yep.
And the majority of them come out the other side a better person for the things they learned along the way.
Yep.
So I recognize that my kids are going to make large mistakes and make decisions that I'm surprised by, and that I will have to deal with that. It's my hope that my connection to young adult literature will help me bear in mind that it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting thing about mistakes. I had a conversation with somebody about, because she made a really big mistake, and I pointed this out. And this is a really thing. Everybody makes mistakes. That does not make you a monster that you made a mistake, like a big mistake. Even if a big one, it doesn't make you a monster.
But self-forgiveness is the hardest thing.
Oh, absolutely. No, it really is.
We hold ourselves 10 times more accountable than we hold anybody else in our lives.
Yeah, because you know yourself to a point that's like, okay, I shouldn't, again, this is in the head all the time. I should have known better. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done that. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, though, you got to look at yourself and go, okay, I did the best I could at that moment in time, and that's all you can do at the end of the day, really.
And that's a very important point. And I did a talk on diversity as my agent self where I was really addressing the way my worldview when it comes to race and racism in society has evolved over the years, and that it took a while for me to understand that I was walking around with blinders on about some things, and then I had to choose to take those blinders off. So when I look at my life prior to now, I see areas where I could have done things better all along the way. But I didn't have that information at the time. I did the best I could with the tools I had at that time and the skills that I had. So I think that it's important to not beat yourself up.
Yeah. Oh no. Because there are things you just don't know. Although it's funny, you're the second person to bring up that conversation this week, and really, it's
really?
yeah. It's an interesting point because I moved around a lot as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So my experience is very different in the sense because I grew up with so many different people. At a very young age, I made a conscious decision that everybody was the same. Right? Now, there are some things that took an adjustment because where I grew up, and there are some things that I wasn't exposed to until much later on in life. And I think that's I think there's just things we're just not. Sometimes we're all us where we're just not ready for until whatever, and then that's a part of it too. But racism has never been like I can honestly say this. I treat everybody the same, but and
it's a good thing that you do. But it's important to recognize that the people that you are treating the same as everybody else may not have had that experience. With everybody. And so I think that my biggest takeaway from that is always just we can't stop listening, and we can't stop learning, and we can't stop trying to evolve, because our worldview changes. The older we get, the more people we meet, the more conversations we have, podcasts we do, supervillains we create.
Yes.
Our worldview changes. Our perception of everything that we do changes, and it's important to be able to acknowledge, okay, I used to think this, now I think this, and here's why.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and all things change. Like my family is comes from a very Christian, like the charismatic movement. I've seen too much though. Like I have traveled, and I've seen a lot of different things. And what I found is I don't have, like, you just realize, like, when you start something, you think you have all the answers. And then as you keep going and as you keep meeting different people, you realize if you let yourself, that you don't really have all the answers. There's still a lot of things
and I can't pull it out of my head at this moment who said it, but the more I learn, the less I know.
Absolutely. No, it is so true. The more you realize, I do. There's the last in the Wandering God, the last book of my series. I have a poem called The Glass Cage. My woman, the female character in there, Kristen, she started off like in the compound, like being afraid to go out in the world because she was small. And then she gets in there, she's like, you know what? I'm even smaller now than I realized. But the difference is you're more okay that when you start, you're afraid of being small because you think you're insignificant and don't matter. And when you go out into the world, you realize you're even smaller than you could have possibly imagined.
But you make the most of the influence that you have, and you make the most of the size that you have.
And you're also at peace with it a lot more, which is a really cool thing. So
I think I've discovered my supervillain name. Are you ready?
Ready.
I am the gardener, and I will bury you. Haha, see, get it? Dirt gardening.
Yeah,
still not working.
No, it's not. But you got an awesome garden. But you have an awesome garden.
I do have an awesome garden. Everything in it is alive, so maybe I'm not that much of a supervillain. Unless I fertilize.
I think secretly you probably, I hate to say this, you might be a sweetheart.
I'm not a supervillain?
No. There.
You've broken my heart, Josh.
I know. I did. So Miss Nola, I think we have a good interview here. So can you do me 2 solids here?
Okay.
Solid number 1. Tell me about your most recent book, what it is, where it's out, where it's available. Second part, where can people find you and contact you? And by the way, you should definitely follow her on Facebook. She's awesome.
I am pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Most recently, I just released a 3-book box set of my Vesper series, and that is dark fantasy featuring deadly immortals descended from Adam and Eve. They're vampiric in nature, but they also have a serpentine twist. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it's also good, dark, and sexy. You can find me on Facebook. I'm author Nola Sarina, and on Twitter, also at Nola Sarina. And I would love to connect with anybody who doesn't mind the fact that I'm sometimes like totally a moron.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Thanks, Nola. Check out our box set right now of her series. It is
available now, actually, and you should definitely take a look at it and any of the other stuff she's currently doing. I want to thank Nola very much for being on the podcast and for just being awesome in general. And that, as they say, is that. Yeah. So here's how you can support me. If you want to support me, you can subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Podomatic, however you want to do it. Do it. That way, you know, people can listen, I get more views, and blah, 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 blah. But right now, I think the biggest thing is The Wandering God is available for pre-order. It comes out in 10 days. I've already started my first contest. My first contest is currently on my Facebook page. I will be spreading it out to other places very shortly. I'll be doing a few other things as well in the days and weeks to come to promote The Wandering God as much as I can. I'm going to be having some limitations on that a little bit. I'm going to talk about those in greater detail next week. But suffice it to say, yeah, big things are changing. I'm going through some major changes in the next little bit, and yeah, I'm looking forward to coming through on the other side of it. But the road's going to be a little bumpier than I'd like. But it's the way it seems to work. Like I said, I'll talk about that next week. But right now, subscribe to my podcast, my YouTube channel, Joshua Pantelleresco. You can also order many of my books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, The Wandering God, courtesy of Mirror Publishing. You can go to their site or Amazon, order, buy it, read it, love it, or don't love it, whatever the case may be. But above all else, stay inspired, do your thing. And, yeah, definitely keep going forward no matter where you are at right this minute.
Josh.